Yeah, so I guess I've started screen recording. So let me see if that goes well for me. Um, right. So this is what I was trying to touch earlier. That we would then have this situation where you would have UIs and then you will have state, right? And then that is UI is just your user interface, right? Variable pointing to your user interface, and then state will be what now? State will be what? The data that powers the UI. I think I talked about that as well, right, in the previous class as well. And then we now said that, okay, React then turns it into a component, right, by putting it inside a function. React turns it into a component by putting it into a function, right? So when you're writing React, what you see majorly or most of the times is what you see a function that returns a set of HTML, true or false, right? What you see majorly with your React is what you see a function, right, that returns what some set of HTML, right, which you popularly call JSX, right? But inside those functions, you could have state, right? You could have a state, right, that stores what the data that UI needs to function right there. And that is this is like an example of that as well, where you have what a function app, right, and then you have what the UI as an object, and then you have your state, right? So this state is believed to be the data that is going to power what this what application. And then we can render what that application, right? You render the whole application, and this gives us what a to do that looks like this. Okay, and then we can also maybe take it a little bit, like if you push the concept a little bit further, then we are now saying that okay, you can then put smaller functions inside of another function, right? You can put a small function inside another function, right? JavaScript permits us to do this, right? That is, you can create small functions that are doing certain things, and then you can also put them there. So we can then have this function right here that can help us to create a to do, while it is also creating what a variable, right, a text, and what a X button right there. And also what we are doing here is what we are returning whatever HTML element that is being created back to us. Then these are just normal functions, right? I believe this here, this add, everybody understand what this add is doing. This add is what preventing default, is getting the text value of the input, right? If there's no text, it's going to return empty. Then also we're setting a particular what UI.input.value to be what empty, and then you are creating a to do object, that is use the ID that is existing before, use the text, and then use what the completed is equals to false, and then store something inside of the state when you're creating a new to do, and update the UI as well so that the UI can show. So you can see now that majorly our application has two ends now. When you're updating your UI, you'll be updating the state, and then you'll be updating like a visual point, right? A visual point, which is the user interface as well. And then you have this remove function now that you can call anytime you want to delete a to do, right? You have this delete function that you can call anytime you need to delete a to do, right? This removes it from state, true or false. This first line removes it from the state, true or false, right? Because that is what your array.filter does for us. So it removes it from your state here, and then this item.remove removes from the user interface, true or false. So you can see how powerful this collocation is now. That what going forward you'll be thinking in terms of what UIs, and then you'll be thinking in terms of what state. Again, when you look at this edit function, what is edit function doing? Okay, I'm going to create a input, right, that has all this detail, but the default value inside of it is going to be to do the text, and I want it to have a cancel and on key down. So what I also want to do is that I want to replace the current li with that particular thing. Anytime somebody decides to edit the to do, then I want to use the input to focus on it. Then I want to disable deleting while I'm updating, right? And I want to remove the pointers null event. When you remove pointers null, what are you saying? You're saying that let nobody be able to click on that particular delete button right there. So this is what a simple way to to carry out the edit feature, or edit, or popularly called update. Then we have the cancel. Cancel is just canceling. That is okay. Cancel. Maybe I don't want to update anymore, and then you can press your cancel, and then this what will replace back with your to do, right? You replace the editing back with your to do, and then this x dot disabled is going to be what, false, right here. And then you have again on key down, right? If somebody presses enter, you want to submit that information. Then if somebody presses escape, right, you want to what, escape or block out the input. And then what else do we have? We have the editing functionality itself now. This is supposed to be like, okay, this is supposed to be the modification of the format edit that we had, right? So here in this update here, we are calling the on key down, right, that we created. We are calling the cancel, and then we have the editing that we did earlier, and then we have what, all the replacing as they were before, and we can then combine everything together, right? Put the remove and the edit inside of your create to do, such that what, as we are creating, right, each of the to do, the li is aware of the event listeners to update or to edit, right? And it's also aware of the event listeners to remove. So when you look at this place now, you would see that what, on the X there is an on click that uses remove, right? There is an on click that uses the remove. And what does it use? It uses the current to do dot what, dot id. Then we have what, on double click, right, you should do the editing right there. So these are the only modifications that what we are having as well. Yeah, I'm recording. And then we have so again, look at this place now, look at this switch now. Some of you will be wondering, how did we just jump to React here? So this is the same thing here, right here. That is, you have a function. This is a function hub. Do you remember this function hub? We had a function hub earlier, right? So this is just that same function. Now swapping that function to use React now. So this creates a div with the ID of app, then it creates a form inside of it, then it has an onSubmit that is passing that onSubmit to what, the create to do function. Then it's creating input, and it's creating a button, and the button is a type submit as well. And then you have what, this here. This React.createElement, is it the same thing as the make function? Do they look similar? Right, React.createElement and the make function, you would see what is similarity, right? It takes the type of what you want to create, it takes props if you have props, and it takes what, the children, right, the content inside if you have anything to put inside. Then if we modify this a little bit further now, one thing again with React, again, what have I said with React, right? The key stuff with React is what, there is user interface and there is what, state. So React has its own built-in behavior to handle state. And what is that built-in behavior to handle state? There is what, a function called React.what.useState. I mean, you popularly call them what, hooks. For those of us who have watched the LMS teaching on React, so there is a use state, but all the purpose of these points here is what, this creates states. You remember in my own implementation, what did I use to create my own state? I used what? I used a what? I used what's it called now? A object to handle all of my states. Is that correct? I kept all of my state inside what? An object, right? But here now, because React provided a solution to store or keep data, then we are using the React provision to store data. And these are the differences that you don't have in vanilla JavaScript. Vanilla JavaScript does not have an implementation to handle data or state, storing of state. So now React gives you that, that extra advantage right there. But you can see the process is still the same thing. It is returning some set of HTML, right? A div with the ID of app that contains a form and contains a UL. The form contains the input and the button to submit to had to do, while the UL contains what? A li and each of the to do. each of the to do. So you can see that React.create li, right? We are styling it here. Now there's a condition thing here. That is, if we are editing, if we are in the editing mode, right? If editing ID is equals to do ID, then swap what? Create what? Create what now? The what? The input to do editing. But if you look at this input now, this React.input here and this props, value, we understand what value means, right? When you say value for a particular input, right, you know that will be the value. On change, right? What is on change? On change means like what? As you are typing into that thing, into that input, right, it has to carry out a particular function. So this is what it's going to be doing. Then you have on blur, you have on key handle, you have autofocus. Again, you will see that what I try to mimic the exact to do that we had earlier, and then switch it gradually to what to React. So if there is an editing ID and it's equals to the current to do ID, then you replace it with this, and then you see this edit behavior. If not, display the span and make sure that what we have our what React.create element as well. So again, this creates a button to delete, and then this had what the ability to remove. This creates a span inside, and then this has what a on double click right there to start editing. Oh my god. So this again, like I said, the reason why I'm going through this purposefully again is because this is the foundation of all the things that I'm talking about. This is the foundation of all of the things that I will be talking about. So now, what are we doing? The previous one was UI plus state. But what do we have now? What are we adding to this flow? We are adding the UI plus state plus what? We're adding the event handlers, right? So for the event handlers, I think it should just be event handlers. UI plus state plus event handlers, right? And for the event handlers alone, event handlers are what? What are the event handlers? Event handlers are the create, to do, the remove, right? The start editing, the save edit, just functions. You can see that they are just functions that we just have inside of the main function of that component right there. And then if we want to add the ability to render in our ordinary vanilla, how did we render in ordinary vanilla? Can somebody remember how we rendered in ordinary vanilla? You did a document.body.prepend, right, in your ordinary vanilla. But here now, when we want to render stuff, how do you render something here? You use your React DOM.create root. It creates a root, and then you do a root.render to render the whole thing. So mind you, the whole thing as well, that function is also a React app. That function is also a React app. So this gives us this to do here, and then you can say to do 1, right, to do 2, right, and then like that, and then you can double click to update, right, and you can say this is what to do 1 updated, right, and then it's updated, and then you can double tap here as well, or close it, double tap or close it, and it's just a pure to do application. So if you need the code base to this now, just come to the node and click. If you click on, I think if you click on this edit, I think how can you open this in your own end? Can you guys click on this edit stack blitz on your hand? I think you should be able to click on that edit stack blitz on your hand. I'm not sure, but you should be able to click on it on your hand. Yeah, so if you open it, then you have a function, you have the whole application that you can play with as well. However, there are some tests here that I added here for those of you who want to know what a little bit of testing looks like as well. This is a little bit of testing, right, if you want to, but that's none of your business per se like that, right there. But the whole thing is what it gives us a UI that looks like this, and then you can run test if you want to run the test. Yeah, you can run the test. So the goal of running the test, I think, is it freezing? Is it freezing? I'm not sure if it's freezing. Okay, so it ran the test. So I think the goal of the test is to create 2,000 to-dos, update them and delete them back. right? I think that's the test, and it ran in less than what is this now? This is 80,000 milliseconds. 80,000 milliseconds. Is it up to a second? Okay, I think it's around 8 seconds thereabouts, right? Not up to, yeah, because this should be, if this is, yeah, a second is 1,000 milliseconds, yeah. So yeah, it again, it does the to do, blah 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 blah. It does the to do, I don't know, and then you can update whatever, and then we can also delete the to do. I don't know if there's a bug with it to do, or if there's a pointer. No, I think there's a pointer's null. That's why it is not even clicking. Right? There's a bug there. So that is that with that, and then the React version of it now has this as well. So you would notice that with the React version, um, I think with the React version, again, it is just, if you have observed, this particular project is a vanilla project. It is not a React project. It is just a what, a vanilla project that I think we are using the React from CDN. I'm not sure whether we're using it from CDN though, but if I can remember, is it a package.json? Let me check the package.json. Yeah. So you can see that Vite is the only dependency here. So it means that in my index.html, I think I am using React from what? Can you see this now? I'm importing React as a CDN. So I'm not even installing React as a package, right? What just what using. So again, can you write React? Can you write React inside of a vanilla JavaScript project? Yes, you can. Because at the end of the day, you wanted to say something, Edith. Do you have a question, Edith? Okay. So
No, sorry.
okay. So here we are importing to. How many things do we need to run this now? Maybe I should show you how we came about this. Should I show you how we created this whole app from scratch? Should I show you how we created it? Or we are comfortable creating this vanilla? I mean, it's not anything serious, honestly. Let's see if I have, let's see if I have my terminal. I think I have my terminal here. Where's my terminal? So I have my terminal running. Let's just close this. Can we see my terminal? Because it's small today. Should I make it big, or we can see it? We can cope with this. Should I make it bigger, or we can cope? Okay. So here, I wanted to go to AltSchool, my AltSchool directory, and then I want to cd into frontend. And inside frontend, I have a whole lot of jargons there. And to join the list of the jargons that I have, I think I have PNPM. Let's just do npm ls to see if I have create vite. If I have create vite on my computer, I think I do have create vite on my computer. So yeah. So now I can do pnpm create vite, and I want it to be you can zoom. Okay, current vite, and or I don't even need to put pnpm anymore. I think I can just put create vite. I think so. Okay, I think I have to pnpm create vite, and this should ask me which project do I want to create. I think so. I'm just going to say this is a sample React from where? From vanilla JS, and I want it to be vanilla, right? Vanilla, and I want it to be JavaScript. So we can then cd into what? Sample, blah 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 blah, and then we have what? What's the first step? pnpm install, right? And then the next step is to what? Pnpm run dev. Pnpm run dev. So if I check localhost, so let's check our localhost what now? 51 what? Localhost 51 5173. Right, you can see that this is a vanilla project. Right, how many of us have done this before? Countless number of times. Right, this is also using Vite to create a vanilla project. Right, countless numbers of time. And then to see the code base, let me just close all these existing code base that I have on my hand. Okay, I think I've closed all the code bases I have. Then I can bring my terminal back again, and I can split this into two, and then open my IDE. So if I open my IDE, let me open my VS Code today. How many of you want to see my VS Code? I've not used VS Code in a long time. I've not had the chance to use VS Code in a very, 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 very long time. So I think this is my VS Code. This is how it looks. And then I have, the first thing first is what we have, the index.html, right, is the starting point. And then we have, the next thing I want us to see is also the package.json. So what is the only dependency again here? What's the only dependency? Vite. And why do we have Vite as a dependency? We have Vite as a dependency because we are using it as a bundler right there, and then we are all used to all of these commands. I think by now everybody is used to these three scripts. True or false? Everybody is used to those what? Yes, I've been teaching you with Z all this while, so what this is VS Code today. And inside of my index.html, what do we have now? We have a src, we have src main.js, and inside the main.js we have all of these here. And I think we can just remove all of these jargons here, and then we can remove all these jargons for now. I think the problem with VS Code is like it's always very slow. That's the problem with VS Code. It's always very, very slow. So the only thing we are importing is what? The CSS. Now if I want to use my React and React DOM, I said we what in the Stack Blitz example, what did I use to bring in my React and my React DOM? What did I use to bring in my React and my React DOM? CDN. What is the CDN? What is the CDN? A content delivery network, right? So what I can do is let's just go back to our browser, and then we can just copy exactly this that we have here. Just copy these all two scripts here, right there, and I can put this inside of my IDE. So I can put this inside of my IDE, right, before my main script. Why is it before? Can anybody relate to why it is before? So that by the time my main.js is loading, right, this would have done its own course of running. So inside of my main.js now, I can then what? Console.what? Console.what? It's been a while I've seen Copilot even work, because Copilot does not work in my Z. It was working before, but I don't know what I did. I pressed Ctrl spoil and the whole thing stopped working. So if I save this now and I go back to my index.html as well, and I save this as well, then if I bring in my browser, right, I should have a blank page. But how do I know if this is working? Inspect. So if I inspect this off the top here, and I go to my console, what should I see? I should see two things logged. One is representing React, and one is representing React DOM. Does that make sense? So then the next step would then be to what? The next step would then be to maybe let's say we want to create hello world with React now. Who can tell me how to create hello world here? How do I create the element? How do I create like an element? How do I create an element? Copilot and Pognosin. How do I create a basic element? So we can say maybe hello world, right? Hello world. Copilot will just always cast me now. So we have equals to what we have dot create what create element, just like we usually have it before, right? Just like we usually have it before. What does this create element expect us to pass? Create element expect us to pass what? They expect us to pass what? The type of element. So let's call this like an H1. Then do we have any props? If we don't have any props, we can say null, and then we can say the content is hello world. So this is our what? Our element, console.log hello world. What do you think this will log? What do you think this will log? Anybody? What do you think this is going to log? Who can guess? Who can guess that? Who can guess what it will log? It will not log hello world. It will not log H1. It will log an object. And inside of that object, the key details is what you have a type of. That type of is now what? Symbol, and it is a symbol of what? React.element. Is that beautiful? Then it's telling us that okay, we do not have any prop, right? The only prop we have is the children, that is the content inside of us. And then we have what? The type of what? H1. And then we have store. This store is like an internal detail right there that we have to use there. So this is React.children, React.profiler, React.suspense, React.clone element, React.create element, React.create content, React.create everything is inside of this object. React.use content, React.use effect, React.use everything. And this is similar to your document. How many of you agree? Right? Inside your document there is everything you need. Document.create element, document.query selector, document.whatever, like as many things as possible. And inside of our React DOM, right, we have create potter, create root, find node, flush sync, hydrate root, render, right, on mount, unstable, right there. So again, that is that. How do I get my hello world to be on the screen now? How can I get it to render? That's the right word. How can I get it to render? Who wants to take that? Who wants to take that responsibility of me? Who wants to take that responsibility of me? Return. Is there any place where I can return here? I don't think there's any place I can return here. So think about it very well. When I was talking about the example, there is a render, right? With React, we use render. And for us to render, we need to create root, right? We need to create root at first. So you want to say what? Let your root to be equals to what? React DOM dot what? Create what? Create root. And then what do you pass to this create root? What do we pass to the create root? The create root must be what? A particular root element. Root element. What is our root element in this case? No, our root element is not that. Our root element is what? A particular what? App. A particular anchor. A particular div. A particular container that we want to work with. So we can say that what? Document dot what? Query selector, right? Query selector into bracket what now? What? App, right? This is the root element. So you pass the root element to this place. And then after this, what is the next step? We then call what? Root dot render. And then you can render the element directly. And this should start what? The process of displaying our what? Our hello world. Does this make sense? So you can see this is the most basic vanilla application, and then I'm writing React inside of a vanilla application. Okay, okay, no problem. So we'll wait on you to send another meeting URL. Right. I thought you could start a meeting instantly. So next time, if you don't want the timing to maybe happen to us, you just start like an instant meeting, and then you just share the URL so the meeting can run for as long as possible. All right. But so far so good, right? Are we on the same page? So far so good. Are we on the same page? Okay. Somebody said they have a pro Zoom account. I mean, why not? We can be your guest. Is that not a good life to be your guest? But I guess maybe for subsequent ones. So maybe for subsequent ones, maybe today we are almost done, but for subsequent ones, we could be your guest. Am I correct, class? We would gladly love to be his guest, his or our guest. I don't know whether you are. I don't know whether you're a male or female now, so I don't know how to address you. But we would love you to take on the responsibility to be your guest. You share item 7 too, as you are hosting us. You help us to share item 7, and then we can always we can always enjoy the benefit of being your guest. Okay, so let me copy this URL that Miriam has shared so that. All right, so I have the other link somehow ready in case this pops out. But I think so far here, do we all understand all that what? So far so good. Do we all understand this basic approach that we just ran with? It's very basic, right there. So what is the beauty of React though? The beauty of React is, I mean, in the early phase, the beauty of React is maybe JSX, right? Maybe JSX, and then maybe components, right? That's the beauty of React. JSX and components. Let me just move off the other one and then join this one. I'll move off the other one and join this. How do I move off the other one now? So I can dismiss this and then I can stop presenting, and then I can exit this here, and then I can join this other one here. All right. All right. Um, let's see. So I want to believe you can see my screen now. I want to believe you can see my screen. Can somebody confirm by unmuting their mics and tell me if you can see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay. Alright. So again, to look at the code base to this is like it is the simplest, easiest code base ever in the world, right? Simplest, easiest code base ever in the world, right? It's just what we use the React to create the hello world, and then we have the rendering phase. I think the code to render is the one that is even plenty, and then you can shorten this as well. I decided to make this long too, but this is like the basic way I'm thinking about this. Basic way I'm thinking about this. Once again, do we all have a good understanding of this? Of this, just basic stuff here. Okay, so let's copy some more stuff right from our work. Let's copy the maybe let's just say go to your main.js, and I want to copy the app. Now I want to copy this particular app right here, but I will copy it gradually. I want to first copy some parts. Just copy this. Let's copy the return. Let's copy this return, right? The return part here, and I can take this into my VS Code. So we can have. Let's call this now. We can say a function. What function? Function hub, right? And then it can contain something that looks like this, and then we can have what a return. I think I can just paste the whole return here, and then you would see very interesting things here. How many of you like my VS Code? I want to believe you all will like my VS Code because my VS Code is pretty stylish, and there are bright colors. There are bright colors everywhere, and the font is cool as well, right? The font is cool. Yeah. VS Code is just slow. It's just too slow. That's something I don't really like about it. Outside of that, it's very powerful, but it's just the speed. That's the only problem that I have with VS Code. So if you look at what we have here, we have a React.create element. Can't we bundle it with Vite? I don't know what you're using to bundle VS Code though. That's a very interesting thing that you just talked about though. I've never even thought about knowing what they use to bundle. But I know they should be using something like Webpack. I believe so. They should be using Webpack. Because it is like, well, they might not be using Webpack too because they are like an Electron application. So Electron has its own it has I need to know what they are doing inside. I don't have excuse to not know what they are doing, especially on their front end side. I know it is powered by HTML and CSS, right? So, and it uses like an Electron app, but I don't know what they use to mix everything together. So, it's worth knowing. But the reason why they might not use Vite is because they've gone a long way, and to just go and use Vite out of the box is like it's a big ordeal for them to face. I think the reason why Z is faster is Z is like a native application. Z is just like a native Rust application, right? So it was built with Rust, but it generates a native application that works with your computer natively. So, but with VS Code has to like first load everything, and okay, Mashallah said they are using Electron and Webpack. So that Webpack is like a very slow thing there. So what Electron does is like it will first like run Electron inside of Node before they can then run like the front end. So naturally they are slow naturally because of all those runnings that you are doing. But Z is just Rust pure Rust, and it just does whatever it's supposed to do here. So here, let's go back to React here. React dot this is a app here. Maybe we should not call this app anymore because we have a app, a div with app here. So what we can do is maybe we should call this what a to do app, right? To do app. And then inside of the to do app, we are creating react.create form, and the form is supposed to have a what, is on submit that does create to do. It has a react.create element, it has input, it has value to be text, then it has what does it have again now? It has on change, it has another create element button, then it has a UL that has the style of 5 pixel padding. Then we have to do's here. So, and these to do's here, I think majorly I can still comment out some parts. I can comment out some parts, especially the to do's. Yeah, I can comment out this to do's dot map. I think this is the to do dot map, right? If I comment this out, yeah, it will still work fine. Then I can create why is everybody leaving the meeting though? Is it because of the internet or what? So this is a function, right? This is also, so I need to just create a function to make that work. I can create a function, create to do, and then it's a function. Then I can create another function for what, remove. I can create another function for what other functions do we have? Do we have any remove? Yeah, I think so. The app should load outside of set text. Now we don't have anything for set text, so set text will be undefined and the app is going to break. But if I save this and I attempt to run it in the browser, there should be like an error in the browser. There should be an error in the browser, and the error is set text is undefined. Okay, we are rendering hello world instead. Okay, we should be rendering what now? We should be rendering this app now. Is that correct? Right. Now, can I put app here? Can I put app here? It will not work. Will it work? It won't. It should not. Let me say it should not. Technically, it should not. So, what is this now? Warning, functions are not what? Valid what? As a React child. This may happen because you're returning a component instead of what? A component. So what you want to do is, mind you, I'm not using JSX. Do you notice? For everything I'm doing, we're not doing anything JSX. Do you observe that? For everything we are doing, we are not doing anything JSX. Okay, so we can come back here and call this now because it's a function, and this will still not work as well. It will create another interesting, well, it will work temporarily, but it will create another problem later on. So you can see that now we are having some internal issues. Text is not defined, right? On line 18 and 49, text is not defined. On line 18 and 14, text. So this text is not defined. So to define text, right, I probably would just do something like this, and then to define, what else do I need to define? Text, outside of text, what else do we need? I think that's the only thing that we need to define for now. So we'll go back to our application. So what else is the problem? Now you can see there's another problem. What is the problem? Invalid what? Hook call, right there. Again, I'm just trying to show you how we created this app. Nothing serious, not too much teaching about what is state and what is this. So it means that I have to wrap this into what now? It has to be passed to what? A React dot what? Create what? Element of its own. It has to be passed to a React dot create element of its own. and that's the only way it will allow me to use a React.useState. So with this, it will then allow me to use what a use state. Do you see that now? Do you see that now? So what that difference is that hello world was a React element. Hello world was a React what? Element. While what? App is what? A React what? Component. Does that make sense? Do you see the difference? Hello world is what? Element, while your app is a component, and it has to be treated as a component. It has to be treated with what? Some level of what? Respect. So we have basic stuff working here, basic stuff working. So let's go back again to look at our IDE. Again, nothing serious, nothing superficial. You have this div. It has the ID of to do app. It has a form. The form must contain a input, and it must contain a button. And then we have what? A UL, and that's all. So if we inspect the HTML that we have, if you inspect the HTML that you have, you would see that inside the app there will be another div with to do app, right? Then we should have what? A form. The form should contain input and contain a button, and then it should have what? A UL. Is this not beautiful? It's so beautiful, right? So React is now creating these user interfaces for us. After the user interface, what is the next thing that we usually talk about? We usually talk about what? State. State, right? That is what, if we click the button, right? What should be happening when we click a particular button? So again, let's go back to the note here and see if we can copy some things. So all these functions that we have here, maybe I should just bring in the states first here. So this will be our pattern of creating states going forward, right? This will be our pattern of creating states going forward. But I will explain what it means later on. I will explain what it means later on. I will explain what they mean later on. So, but you notice, what is the consistent thing there? There are two things that is consistent, or three things that is consistent. Everywhere we have React dot what? Use state. Then we have like a default value, right? And then you have this array destructuring. Can you see those three things is consistent? Those three things, they are what? Consistent. React dot use state, a default value. So for the first state on line 8, what is the default value? For the first state on line 8, what is the default value? Arrays, right? For the next one, what is the default value? The 0, right? For the next one, what is the default value? The empty string, right? And then for the next one, what is the default value? Null. And then for the next one, it is what? This. And then you see that by their name, we can understand what they are doing as well. How many of you observe that by their name, by the way we defined them, we can guess what they are doing? The first one is to store what? All of our to-dos, right? Then the next one is to keep like the ID, right? Then the next one is to keep the text of that to-do itself, right? And then the next one is to what? To keep the ID of the one that we want to edit, right? And then the next one should be what? The text of what we are editing. Is that correct? So by their name, by the way they were defined, and this is what? The structuring. I talked about the structuring in the last class. True or false? We talked about the structuring in the last class, right? True or false? So when we get to React teaching proper, I will explain this further. Okay, after the UIs, our UI has been done, our state has been added. What is the next thing that we need to add? Based on that that default teaching that we had, the defaults that we have. After that, what do we need to have? UIs, state, what else? What else do we need? the functions, handlers, what we handle things, the functions, all right, the handlers. So one of the functions here is what the create to do, right? This is one function. Another function is remove. Another one is what start editing. Another one is to save editing. Another one is to handle key down. Another one is, okay, these are the ones that we have right here. I can copy this and take this into my VS Code, and immediately below this I can just paste this here, and then it's going to work. So we have what to create to do, right? This one creates to do here, and then I won't talk about the internal explanation too much, because the internal explanation now is Reactish, right? But just see them as functions for now that are doing certain things that I would explain later on. So I think I can uncomment this as well, right? We can uncomment this one as well. Can uncomment this, and basically we should have something that is working. Just basic stuff. Now we should have something that is working. Basic. So if I do this here, how many of you can see that small number that came up beside it as I'm pressing D? How many of you observe that times 13 times 14 times 15? How many of you can see that? Who can guess what that is? It's telling me the number of times this particular input that is moving. It's telling me the number of times it was re-rendered. It was telling me the number of times it was re-rendered. So don't worry, that's a React explanation, React internal detail that we're going to talk about later. So we can do to do one, and then you have to do two, to do two, and then we have this here. It's not React scan. That's not React scan though, but you are close. But that's not React scan. It looks like React scan though, but it's not React scan. But that's nice. It's the profiler. Profiler is built into like this is your components, right? There's a particular React Chrome dev tool that you should install for those of us that will be writing React. How many of us know that there is a particular React Chrome extension? I think we call them extensions that you need to install. So it has the component part, and then it has what the profiler part. So the one that is doing that boxing thing is the profiler, and the profiler is for performance, and it's similar to your, I think it's similar to your performance tab as well, which counts the number of times your application renders and blah 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 like that. And then you see that what with the React Dev tool again, you can see the number of states that we have. How many of you can observe this? It sees the number of states that we have, and I can open it and I can see each of the objects inside of it. I can understand that my ID is 2. So if I create another to do, my ID is going to what? Another to do. My ID is going to change. So as I'm typing another, you can see that text is also typing here, right there. So again, it's state that handles everything that is happening right there. So my value will change to what? 3. My arrays of objects has changed to what? 3. So that React Dev tool is what now? Is telling us what? React Dev tool is just telling us more about what? About the application, definitely. So honestly, let me see. Do we have any question about this skeletal React inside of the vanilla project? Do we have any question though? Do you have any question? Honestly, I just believe like this is like the beginning of a good thing that we're going to be doing here. So any question? Can I press forward? Can I press forward a little bit? If you have questions regarding this, it will be good to ask, right? But if not, I can press forward. Okay, so the next thing according to the slide, what's the next thing according to the slides? The next thing is to talk about how to set up our development environment. next thing is to talk about how to set up our what. That is now. This will now be the environment that you'll be using to write your React. You know the one we set up earlier, right? When we were writing vanilla was to set up a vanilla project. Do we understand? The one we set up earlier is to write vanilla project, but this time around we're setting this one up to write what now? To write what? Vue.js. But you will, sorry, did I say Vue.js? Did I just say Vue.js? Oh my god. It's not Vue.js, sorry, to write React. Yeah, to write React. I thought Miriam said something. I don't know what Miriam said. I'm trying to see what the comment is. I know it's skeletal, but I'm looking forward to when we will make them modular because it is too chaotic. Yeah, I mean, let's see. If you want to tempt us to break it down, what's the difference between Lighthouse and the Performance tab? Lighthouse just tells us about your core web vitals. The Performance tells us about the performance of the application. That is, what is running, how long it's taking to run, which functions is running in your code, how many minutes does it take to run. It's just the performance is just the whole timeline of what is running in your application. How many minutes does it take to render? How many minutes does it take to pass the HTML? How many minutes does it take to pass the CSS? How many minutes does it take to render stuff? So that is what that is to do a lot. But Lighthouse is for the core web vitals. When we say core web vitals represent the important benchmark that the browsers have agreed on to test every web application on. So you're talking about for the core web vitals, you're talking about what's it called now? LCP. You're talking about the largest contentful paint. You're talking about high NP, initial something P. I've forgotten all these things. My bad. Again, which one do we have again? LCP, high NP. There are a lot of them. I've forgotten. I mean, this is not a performance workshop. Trust me. But yeah, the time to first byte as well. I think TTFB thereabout. Yeah, there are just a lot of them there. So they are core web vitals. So that is what we all agree on, right? To measure the performance of a web application. However, the performance tab gives us more detail right there. But Lighthouse is just based on what we agreed on. And it's not just only core web vitals alone. It also tells us what some other common problems that they've agreed on to test web applications on. So did I answer that there? I did. So if we want to break this down into modules, right? Yeah, I won't do that, trust me. But you can put this now. You can put this into like a export. You can take this into another file. Take this into another file. Just take them into another file. And then for the HTML, you can break this down. I think this is one part. So you can say this is going to be form, capital form. And I mean, I'm not interested in breaking it down, but I'm just telling you what is possible. Do you understand? So you can say function form. I'm telling you what is possible, function form, and what will happen? There must be a return, right? There must be a return, and then so if I want to take it to another file as well, I can take it to another file, and that will. I don't even need to put this bracket. I don't need to put this bracket, I think so. I just need to paste it, and then it will do form for me there. Then for the UL as well, I can say function what now? Function to do's now. Function or say to do list, right? To do list. Come on. And then we can also do like a return. What is the to do? Where's the to do list there as well? So this UL, where's the UL? Yeah, so you can highlight everything that falls under that. I think that should be everything that falls under that. The green, so you can cut that. And you can call it what? To do what? to-do list, and then maybe you can also put where's the return here, return, and then you can paste this here as well. So do you see ways to break it down? Let's see if I've not broken this up. It should still work. So there are ways to continue modularity if you do want to venture into making it modular. There are ways to go about it. I think, yeah, I did break the hub. Functions are not valid. This. So what's the solution to that? Anybody? We've encountered this problem before. So what is the solution to this now? So it's either you do what's it called now? Where are they? It's either you call them as a function, right? Or what now? Or you wrap them in a React.createElement. Do you understand? So it's either you wrap them in a function, blah 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 blah, or you pull them into this again. So for the modularity, you can always do the modularity, and again this is looking like components. Can you see the smaller stuff, right? The smaller elements are looking like components in your React. True or false? Yeah, they're looking like components, there's small stuff and thereabouts there. So, and again, you can break this one down again. So because this one is this is a element here. This one, what is this element doing here? This element is to update, right? So you can call it like a to do maybe update component, and then you can call it is to do render component. You can call this small one again. What can we call this one now? We can call this small one a to do delete button, right? If you just modularize it as much as you want to. And I think that's the beauty of React. Is that not the beauty of React? Being able to break down your applications into components, right? Into components thereabout. So that's the beauty thereabout. And I can go back to the core thing here. So I was talking about setting up a React application, which is the core thing here. Remembered when we were doing introduction to NPM, I talked about the setting up of the application when we were doing core NPM. Is that correct? When we were doing NPM, the introduction to NPM, I talked about setting up a particular application as well. Okay, good. I hope we've not forgotten. I hope we have not all forgotten how to set up the project. So this is a little bit further right there, and these are steps here. So what is this first step? The first step talks about installing something globally. What are we installing globally? This is not even Vite now. We're installing create Vite. You're installing a particular create Vite. Create Vite is like the particular CLI that they used to create all the Vue templates, all the Vite templates. So that's why we are installing it globally. And when I mean globally means that let it be resident on your computer. So you can either use yarn, or you can do PNPM, or you can do NPM. I think you can do NPM, you can do yarn, or you can do PNPM, or you can do Bun. How many of us know Bun? I've talked about Bun before in this class. True or false? I've talked about Bun before in this class. True or false? Yeah, I love to use Bun as well. Bun too is very fast. Bun is very fast. It's been a while I've used it though. Bun is very, very fast. Say Bun V now. Let's see what the version of Bun is. 1.2.5. I think if I do Bun upgrade, let's see. I think we should be on a newer version. Yeah, they should be on a newer version. I like to use the latest as much as possible for almost everything I'm doing. And let's see what version they have now. There's Bun, there's Dino, right? All these things are just there to run applications or to run things as much as we want. So the version that we have now is 1.2.11. and then you can click on this link to see what the new features of Bond is doing. So if we do Bond V now, so that works. So that's Bond there. Yes, I'm recording. I think I should be recording. Yeah, my recorder is still running. So the next step is what now? After step 1, the next step is what? Create a new project right there. I was trying to run create vid alone on its own, and I don't know if create vid alone can work. Okay, create vid alone should be able to work. Create -vid alone should be able to work. So if you do create vid alone, it should be able to work, right? So why is create vid alone working now? Can anybody guess why create vid is working? Because I've installed it what? Globally. Does that make sense? The reason why create -vid is working is what? I've installed it globally. So I can call this now, and now I can say what? React what? Project, React app, first React app now. Maybe we can say React app what? 1. And then we can pick the React option, right? So I think if you go through the React option, if you go through the React option, where's my terminal again? So go through React option. Which one are we going to pick here? Should we pick TypeScript? How many of you are ready for TypeScript? Or we should go and stay with the one that our knowledge? So we can go with JavaScript, right? And then you go with JavaScript here. So you can cd into app 1, right? And then you do pnpm, or let's just do Bond install this time around. Bond install, right? You can see Bond install is very fast, just like pnpm. I don't know the fastest between Bond install and pnpm. I think pnpm should be the fastest. So this one used 10 seconds. 10 seconds. That's not bad. So what are the things that are added now? What are the things that have been added? So we have ESLint, React DOM, Vid plugin React, ESLint itself, ESLint plugin React hooks, ESLint plugin React refresh, globals, Vid, React, and React. And which version of React are we working with now? 19. Good. 19.1. So SWC is just a bundler that also can work with Vid. It's a bundler that can work with Vid. So how do we start our application now? How do we start our application? So we can do what now? Let's open our IDE. Let's open Z this time around, and we can do. Let's open code too. Let's use code. Code is not bad. Yes, you can choose the SWC if you want it as well. It's still basically the same thing. So what is the new thing that we are observing here now? What are the new things? Before, we don't usually have a config. Before, we usually don't have a config or a configuration file. So did I open with Z and code together? I think I opened two things. I think it's opening with two things. It's opening Z and VS Code together. But look at how VS Code is taking time to run. And Z already opened. Right. So we have the Vite config here, right there. So it has the define config, it has React here, and then you pass the plugin here. So we have our package.json as usual. We have the index.html. It's the starting point. So we can say what AltSchool. I think you guys are Kara too. Are you Tinyuka? I don't even know anyone. Tinyuka. Anyone? Just manage anyone I give to you. Every time I keep asking. Then we have ESLint, blah 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 stuff here. Then we have SRC here, and then we have inside the SRC, which one is the entry point of our application? Which one is the entry point of our application? which one is the entry point of our application. So you can see that what src main.jsx and src main.jsx, src main.jsx, src main.jsx. I think this should be able to open the main.jsx. Is it not opening? So if you go to the main.jsx, right, we then have this. So we have strict mode from React, create root from React DOM/client. Then we are importing our CSS, and then we are importing all of our application right here. So strict mode. The reason why we're using strict mode is just for testing purpose as well, nothing serious. Then our app is inside app.jsx. So if you go to app.jsx, you will see what they have. So this is the basic app. It has like a basic state declaration, and it has some basic HTML that we have, right? And then yeah, if we run this application now, let's run this application. Then to run this application, how do you run this application? So we can do born run dev, right? Born run dev, and then it will start the development server at 5174 because we have 73 running before, so it is going to go to 74. So we have run build. So if you want to build the application for deployment, what do we do? npm run build, right? And if you are setting up the whole thing, so this is to set up and you're using template, it stops at number 5. But if you want to set up to what? From everything from scratch, right? If you want to set up everything from scratch, what do we need to do? If you want to set up everything from scratch, you create your directory, right? You cd into the directory, right? After that, you then what? Initialize your npm, right? So you can do born in it, pnpm in it, or anyone you want to use. Then you can install what now? React and React DOM, right? You create your index.html, right? And put this into the content, right? But you can see that there is a script tag right here, which is pointing to your main.jsx. And then you can go to what? You can go to the next step, which is step 5, right? You could just put this into the import from React, import create root from client, and then we have what? This is the JSX version, true or false. This is the JSX version, true or false. Right? This is what many of us are learning now, and this is what is common, and this one is not common. How many of you agree? The JSX is common, right? And then the other approach is not common because the other approach is not beautiful. But trust me, this is what is happening behind the scene, right here. This is what is happening behind the scene, right here. And then we've talked about this before. Then we've talked about root.render before. And then you can what? You can also install what? Install your Vite and your Vite /plugin -react as what? Dev what? Dependency. Dev dependency. Then you can set up a create vite.config.js, and then you do the setup like this. Then you can set up your build script as well. Set up your build script as well, and then we can then what? We can then run what's it called now? I think we should be able to run what? npm what? Run dev, right? So if you want to build to GitHub pages, Vercel, you can do npm run build as well. Also, there are online IDEs that you can use, Code Sandbox, CodePen, StackBlades, or any other tool that you can use. I like to use CodePen and StackBlades a lot for many of the things. I don't use Code Sandbox anymore like I usually do before. So this is how to set up from scratch right there. And I think the next thing we're supposed to talk about is JSX. JSX, that is JavaScript HTML. So I think that's all for today though. That's all for today. It's just, again, it's just basic stuff, nothing too much, basic stuff, nothing too much. So under GSX we would talk about like how to, from our existing HTML. We have your JSX syntax and structure, the rules of JSX. Then how do you convert your HTML to JSX? Then how do you embed JavaScript? Then how do you embed your CSS into it? And yeah, that should be all. It's a very, you can read this before class. Not even you can, you should read this before the class. You know, right? You should read this before class. You know that you should read this before coming to class. Read, I think next class, uh, will the video be uploaded on LMS? Is it the video that I'm working on? Or is this a video to, is it a video that I just recorded? Ah, that one I can't see. I can't see. I probably will just put it on like my own personal YouTube account. Should I put it on my YouTube account? I mean, I'll probably just put it on my YouTube account and share it, because this is like me organizing this. So, um, um, yes, I do have a YouTube account. Maybe you can subscribe, and soon I will be unleashing my videos back on my YouTube account. I mean, I'm a decent okay, let's say I'm a half decent teacher. So let's say I'm a half decent teacher that should be able to teach. Right. uh, but sometimes I can be lazy, but I hope to do more stuff. Yeah, I hope to do more stuff, or as many of you who want more stuff, right there. Or I have some live stuff, some live streamings that I've done, and all of that. So I think the last one was uploaded, but it was unlisted. Did I list it or unlist it? Okay, I think this is the last one we did there. So no, LMS on the React on the LMS is going to make sense. You just need to watch it over and over. I think if you watch it over and over, it will make sense. So you don't have to criticize it too much. You don't have to. Don't worry, you don't have to criticize it too much. I'm here to support you, right? The goal is to support you as much as possible, and yeah, is to support you as much as possible, to make React easy. Um, um, all right. So I think we've really covered a lot of grounds in today's teaching, though. We did a lot of interesting stuff in today's class. Again, if you don't understand, try to please watch it again. Try to watch it again. Yeah, one more time. And if you have questions, please reach out to me. Regarding the assignments, we have assignments. Don't forget we have assignments, right? Don't forget we have assignments. For the slides, I said you should use, what's it called now? Slide.dev, right? So for slide.dev, read the documentation before anything. Go through the documentation. It's very beautiful, and it's very, very simple. Very simple. It allows you to write your slides and just mark down stuff right there. So, yeah, some of us have to learn how to use the slide. No, there's no some of us have to. It's just very simple. Don't do more than normal. The right way is to come to documentation, click on get started, and read everything here from top to bottom. When you are done with this one, go from top to bottom. When you are done, go from top to bottom. Go from top to bottom. That's how to become an engineer. We read documentation. That is our job. That is our job. So some people don't like read, then they are not ready to be software developers. Let them go and farm. I mean, that's a better alternative. Right, farming. So if you buy equipment, you don't read the manual, just go and use it like that. How you want take survive for this world if you cannot read? How? How? I don't know. Okay, so documentation is someone said you have me. I laugh. Let me laugh. Okay. So make I go read the documentation, make I come explain to you. Now why they give you small small snippets, right? Now why they give you small small snippets? Now for people like you that are lazy. Right. All right. So again, this is very important. Go through the documentation, right? Is the reason why I'm bringing you to this is because I need you to go through the documentation. I need you to understand that documentation is the most important part of us as software engineers. You can't just depend on the instructor for survival. So we are still going to what react documentation. We are reading, we are reading, we are reading, we are reading, and we must read. All right. So read top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom. Even if you don't understand, keep reading. Right. Advance, read. Just read, 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 read. All right. That's the word, read. So I think we can bring the class to a close. Thanks for joining. Honestly, and I wasn't sharing my screen though. I think I was not sharing my screen. I was talking about top to bottom. Yes, I wasn't sharing my screen. I was talking about top to bottom. But you know what? I went to slide.dev, right? And I was just going from top to bottom, slide.dev. All right. So, see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a wonderful night first.